Hi, Rachel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, it's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
So, what's been going on since the last time, we met?
Well, so you know how I have my upcoming study abroad?
I do. That's coming up pretty soon, huh?
Yeah, I leave for it later this week, and it's kind of all hitting me at once
Yeah.
that I'm going.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly kind of in a little bit like of a panicky state,
Yeah.
I feel like, because I can't believe that it's here already. And I just feel like there's so much to prepare. So I'm kind of just dealing with that. And I'd say I'm in probably a lot worse of a state this week than last time we met.
Yeah, definitely. So, just because it's getting a little bit closer, it's becoming a little bit more real, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it became so real, and
Yeah, it's coming by quick.
It's scary.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that's making you nervous?
I think it's a lot of it's just the anticipation of like I don't know how I'm gonna react once I get there.
Definitely.
Because I'm definitely scared that once I once I get there I might panic or, like really struggle with the culture shock.
Yeah.
And you can only prepare for that so much.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm just mostly worried, like it's just the unknowns of like
Yeah.
how I'm gonna react, or like what if I get there and then I regret going or something and they can't do anything about it. So
yeah, it definitely sounds like going to a whole different country for 2 months. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for 2 months it's a long time, and it's completely valid to feel anxious and nervous about it. It's a big jump, and it's something you've never done before. At least going to that country. So it's a cool experience, but you have every right to feel the way that you're feeling.
Yeah.
But I do want to reassure you that you've told me about your other study abroad trips and stuff, and before you went on those trips, were you feeling kind of the same way?
Well, I feel like the last study, because like I've only been abroad like voluntarily.
Okay.
Just to kind of do like my own research, or just for like just to travel and vacation sort of. So that just didn't feel like as big of a commitment.
Gotcha.
Because it was very like when I was there I could do like whatever I needed to cope.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas like with a study abroad, especially like an intensive program like I'm doing, there's no like when I'm there's big expectations from me. So as far as like coping and things like that, I'm still like locked into like so many hours of class a day and like really strict like testing and things like that. And like last summer it didn't feel as scary, because even though it was also a 2-month program, I was just in Arizona, so it wasn't like a culture shock the same way. And it felt a lot easier to like just
definitely. They are two completely different experiences. I wasn't trying to compare the two, but yeah, it's a big jump. What kind of expectations were you talking about?
Well, since it's an intensive program, it's like basically you're expected to learn each day what you would learn in a week of regular paced class instruction.
Yeah.
So it's just tons of homework, tons of like in class. It's not relaxed at all. Like it's very regimented. Like they send people to these kind of programs like doing military language training and things like that. So it's very much like more of a boot camp than a class, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm just worried about, I won't have the time to like, take a day off if I need or something, because it's just like not allowed. Like you have to be present for everything. Unless there's obviously like an emergency or something. Yeah. So I'm just nervous about just the, if I go through those feelings and anxieties and culture shock, all those sort of things, like how do I cope or take a step back when basically every hour of my day is like already structured for me, and I don't have a say in it.
Yeah. So, since you are going for school, do you get the weekends off as well, or is it like 24/7?
So, on the weekends, there's homework, but there's like excursions that I have to be at.
Okay.
Which it's like, that's going to be a little bit more relaxing without class.
Yeah.
But it's still like very regimented. Like, you have to be at this place at this time to get on this bus, you know?
Yeah, and that sounds very stressful and kind of anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever tried any coping skills before that have worked out for you?
I've done a little bit of like I don't even know if this is what grounding is, but the thing where you just find like go through things that you can feel, things you can smell, things you can see. Senses. Yeah, the 5 senses.
Yeah, definitely.
And that, I feel like that kind of helps in the moment. But doesn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, it doesn't
just in that moment.
Yeah, it doesn't like get rid of your anxiety.
Yeah,
like
I don't feel better afterwards.
Okay.
So I don't know if maybe I'm not doing it right, or maybe I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I need to try like a different strategy, or
I mean, so the purpose of those grounding techniques are to necessarily ground you, you know, in when you're in a state of panic or excessive worry and you're you know, you're feeling intense emotions. It's supposed to help you get back, you know, grounded, not to use that word again, but it's supposed to help you, you know, calm yourself down, calm your nervous system down in that moment, so then you can try and think with more of a clear mind. I wish they would get rid of anxiety, because that would make everyone's life a whole lot easier if that were the case. But it's good that you're using, you know, at least you're trying to use some coping strategies, and we can definitely find more. And we can practice them, work through them, and see, you know, what works and what doesn't. It's not a one size fits all, so it's definitely something we got to experiment with for sure. But it sounds like, you know, you're very aware of, you know, the stuff that you're feeling, which is great that you're cognitive of that. So I do want to go over our test results, your test results. We took your, we went over the GAD-7 last time. Do you remember that? Awesome. So I went over your test results, and you scored a 15, which places you with severe anxiety. How do you feel about that?
I feel like it doesn't come as that much of a surprise to me. I honestly I guess it's helpful just knowing like where I'm at, so in the future when I like incorporate the coping mechanisms and strategies and things like that we talk about, I can see how like you know, I can bring that down over time. Or
definitely. Does it provide you with any reassurance at all with what you've been feeling?
Yeah, it definitely like helps to have reassurance that I am anxious and what I'm dealing with is pretty severe. So
it is, but you know, it's also treatable with therapy and medications and other, you know, techniques that we can also work through together as well. And I just want to also reassure you that it's completely normal to, you know, feel what you're feeling. Anxiety comes and goes, and it's a lot of things that people deal with, and we can find strategies to help you, make you feel more at ease with certain situations. Are there any situations in particular that make you feel more anxious at times?
Usually things like just things in general that I can't control. Like, I mean, outside, of course, the study abroad impending is like really exacerbating that, because it's like a huge unknown. But things like back when I left, like if you remember when I left my old job like a couple weeks ago, just the uncertainty of like, how am I gonna feel, or you know, how is it gonna change my life, just not knowing. But it's like exhausting being anxious about unknowns, because they're everywhere, and like we constantly have like unknowns in our lives, and we can't control that. So I think that's part of why my anxiety is like so severe is because I think it's triggered by, like, not knowing if I can control, like, what happens.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, going back to your, the job that you ended up leaving, and talking about the unknown, how did you get through that?
I honestly just had to tell myself that I was, like, it wasn't a choice that I was leaving that job, and it was, like, just a transition. I was, like, reminding myself that, like, you know, life is just, not just, but it is constantly, like, just a series of different transitions.
Yeah.
And I've gotten through every big transition before, so I'm just, like, reminding myself that, you know, this is my first major transition in a long time, and that's probably why it felt scarier. But yeah, just trying to, instead of looking at it as like a event or something, or like a drastic, like, change, or like a chapter closing or something that sounds really, like, you know, like, big. If I consider it just a transition, it makes me feel a little bit better about it, because it's not like I'm a new person or anything. Like, I'm just evolving and going through, you know, just making room for something new.
Yeah, I really like the way that you phrase that, because the transition, using the word transition, kind of takes power away from, you know, the anxiety that you've been feeling and the control, or the loss of control that you've been feeling. So, you know, using different words can kind of help your mind, you know, feel more at ease in those moments, and help, you know, big changes in life not feel so big at the time, right? So that's really good, you know, that you're able to, like, walk yourself through that. So I understand that you have been feeling anxious, and I do want to, based on the symptoms that you've been experiencing over the past 6 months, I do believe that you do have general anxiety disorder. And like I said, it is treatable. We can continue therapy sessions. If just therapy doesn't work, there are other options we can add to it, like medication and other effective treatments. We're working on CBT right now, but there's other therapeutic techniques that are evidence-based that will help you if you feel like you might need a little bit more support other than these, outside of these therapy sessions. Well, since you will be out of the country for 2 months, we will schedule our next session for when you come back.
Yeah, like late August.
Late August? Okay. Awesome. Well, I will write that down. And let me check back in my notes here real quick. Did you want me to give you different mindfulness techniques, or did you want to stick with that grounding for now?
What's, like, maybe something, is there something kind of similar to grounding that I can try that, like, I can maybe add if I'm practicing grounding and it's maybe not, like, working?
Yeah, so grounding is more, it's kind of to distract your mind in whatever it's feeling in the moment. And then, so when you're doing those grounding techniques, you can also do breathing techniques as well. It's another form of grounding. My personal favorite is the 4-7-8 breathing. And so that's where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7 seconds, and then you release your breath very, very slowly for 8 seconds. And then you repeat that, and you kind of might feel like you're starting to lose your breath a little bit, but that's supposed to help regulate your nervous system and help calm you down as similar to other grounding techniques.
Yeah, I always forget about, like, breathing techniques and things like that, so that's definitely, like, a good reminder.
Yeah, that's that's totally normal, you know, when you're super anxious, you know, your heart's racing a lot. Yeah. Well, is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
No, I don't really have anything else. But so what's gonna be my homework?
That is your homework, just working on those grounding techniques. Yeah. I'm not going to give you too much because I know your plate's pretty full these next 2 months. You know, you're going on
but that's
really
perfect
big trip.
Because I'll get to see, like, how I can apply those, like, strategies in a new environment.
Yeah, and I also want, you know, to make sure that you give yourself grace and be patient with yourself. And what you're dealing with it's very, you know, it's normal and it's okay to be feeling like this, and you're not alone. And I want you to have fun on your trip. I'm trying to enjoy it as much as possible, and it's a really good opportunity, and you're very strong and you're very brave for going on this. So, and I'm proud of you, and I hope you have a great trip.
Well, thank you.
It was great seeing you, and I will see you when you come back, and I can't wait to hear about all of your adventures.
Yes, I'll see